Blessings, beloved. I'm doing well. I just got out of court a little while ago, and the nothing short of criminal activity that went on in the courtroom is now plain to see for everybody. Everybody can behold the corruption in our judiciary, how bold they are, how they're willing to remove the rights of a free man, and we're talking to a great extent. Let me just read it for you. It says that I shall not exhibit or distribute any posters or written material in Wexford Town. It says these are the bail bond conditions. This is what I had to sign today under duress in order to avoid going to Clover Hill Prison. It says I should not engage in public speaking anywhere in Wexford Town. Bear in mind, it hasn't been shown that I've broken any law, even still. He does not invite or engage others to speak in public anywhere in Wexford Town. What kind of nonsense is that? Imagine saying to somebody, you can't invite anybody to Wexford Town. Do they think they're in the schoolyard? Or are they in a court of law? Do you think? Now, all of this on top of the bail bond conditions that are in place, and on top of an unlawful court order, and still to this day none of their accusations against me have been proven. Now, just want to let you know on what basis they arrested me today. They claimed that I had breached Section 7 of the Recorder Act. And I don't have the wording here right now. I think. Didn't get a picture of it, but I'm expecting to receive that, so I'll share it as soon as I have it. But it's basically saying that the banner that I was holding up was obscene, insulting, threatening, or abusive, and that it was designed to incite a breach of the peace, with the intention to incite a breach of the peace, which I don't know how they can prove what I intend or what I don't intend, or that I didn't show due care to not incite a breach of the peace. So first it has to be proven that the material I was using was insulting, obscene, threatening or abusive before we even consider intention to incite a breach of the peace. So let's not forego the content. They have to prove that the material on there is threatening or abusive. Basically, they have to show that the Bible is threatening, abusive, insulting, or obscene. So we live in a day and age where the content of the Bible is considered by law enforcement and potentially judiciary, but yet that remains to be seen. Is the Bible seen as obscene, or because they're not clear. They haven't said which part of the section it falls under, whether it's obscene or insulting or threatening or abusive. So it all remains to be seen. But as far as I'm concerned, I have reasonable excuse to preach the gospel, and you can see that I've been systematically harassed. I mean, this isn't just a once-off where something was said, and on this channel, on Word on the Street Ministries, it's plain to see. You can look back through all of my public speaking and my uploaded videos, sometimes 2 or 3 videos per day. The material I was discussing is plain to see. It's available to the public to peruse and critique. should they choose to. I've touched on issues of paedophilia, homosexuality, and abortion, and all different manner of subjects and topics that are prevalent today. I believe them to be spiritual and emotional strongholds over the people, over the nations. And because I'm not deluded, because I won't go with the world, they're persecuting me, and that's plain to see. It's plain to see that I'm not a violent man, that I don't incite violence against anybody. In fact, people have been violent towards me, and I haven't pressed charges on any of them. I want to keep the peace. I don't want to cause breach of the peace. I want to be allowed to engage in my freedoms. I want to bring the gospel message. It is others who are coming against me and being violent towards me and being violent against me. The Gardaí were quite rough with me today. They lifted me up off the ground. Two big burly men lifted me up off the ground. I'm only a slight man, and they stole my property. They'll say it's evidence, but as far as I'm concerned, I was kidnapped today, or unlawfully arrested. Say it as you will. But when somebody knows that they're wrongfully arresting you, it's a misuse of power, and I view that as kidnapping. So these tyrannical police, who, by the way, I'm always respectful of, who I've forgiven already, but I'll call them what I see them as, and I see them as tyrants, because they're misusing the law and they're not obeying the law. Albeit while I was in their custody today, they were respectful, especially the guy who was looking after me in Wexford Garda Station. He was very respectful. We had chats man to man over issues. I won't mention the man's name, doesn't need to be mentioned at all. And he gave his opinions about paedophilia. Actually, he raised a point, and can't remember verbatim what he said, but I'll paraphrase. Basically, he was saying, do you not think that it should be up to a parent to tell their child about paedophilia when they're ready to tell their child? And I acknowledged his point as a point that probably many people would raise, and I think absolutely a parent has the right to choose when they're going to teach their child one topic or another. But what you can't deny a child is their right to a conscience. In fact, it's a constitutional right. And you can't deny my constitutional right to discuss these topics either in public forum. So whilst we have to be respectful and we're not allowed to talk about obscene detail and things like that, of course, it's not illegal to mention paedophilia, especially in our day and age where, there are things on Netflix like teen twerking teams. I mean, come on, folks, we're right in the middle of this satanic takeover, and I, for one, am not afraid of these people because I have Jesus at my side. Okay, and we have to stand up for our rights. We have to stand up for what we believe to be true. And to address the point that the Garda made, I said to him, who do you think is more likely to fall victim to a paedophile? Somebody who knows what one is, or somebody who doesn't? So at what stage, they say, well, it's up to the adult to choose what age that will be. And right, if the child is 3 or 4, they're not going to know what the word paedophile means anyway, probably if they can pronounce it. So it's not an issue then. But when the child gets older, then they might find the word on social media, or somebody at school might mention it, and they might go and Google it. But if you're out on the street and somebody mentions the word, and daddy or mommy are there with you, and then you say, daddy, what's that word, or something along those lines, then the parent has an opportunity to say, well, I'll discuss that with you when you're a bit older, or take the opportunity to discuss it. And so it doesn't remove the parent's right to choose. You understand? But what it does do is it exposes the issue publicly. It deals with the issue. It doesn't shy away from it and brush it under the carpet, because that leaves people vulnerable. that leaves the society vulnerable. And I'm amazed at the lack of people who are actually standing up against this debauched, sick, disgusting, twisted society that we're living in when it comes to sexual perversion of all kinds. You see these marches, these LGBTQ marches, where elderly men are walking down the road with their bits hanging out down around their knees, and children are walking along the road, and the police aren't arresting these men for indecent exposure. Now that's obscene, and that should be an arrestable offence. But the Gardaí do nothing, or not the Gardaí, but the police do nothing about it. So I'm not talking about a situation in Ireland that has come to my knowledge, but I'm talking about a situation in Canada that came to the fore, where these old men were walking down the road. And is that what people want in Ireland? Is that what people are accepting in Ireland now? We're going to accept that kind of behaviour, where old men are put their wrinkly bits on show going down the road in a march? Is that what we're going to accept as okay? Because pretty soon, if things are going the way they're going with me, you won't have anything to say about it. And if you open your mouth about it, they'll tell you that you're being obscene. So it's okay to carry out the activity, but it's not okay to talk about it. Now, where does that make sense? What stage does that make sense? So I repeat, is a child who is aware of what a paedophile is less at risk? Of course they are, because they're aware of potential threat. So we should educate our children about these types of things in society that are not okay. You know, teen twerking teams are not okay. They're not to be promoted. That's a vile sexualization of teenagers, because there's no other purpose for twerking. Okay, so let's just get that out there, out in the open, and talk about it, because I'm not afraid to talk about it. I'm not gonna shut up. I'm not gonna shut up. You know, they can keep threatening me, keep giving me death threats, and, you know, keep arresting me wrongfully and all of that. I'm not going to stop. I belong to Jesus Christ of Nazareth, and I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of these people who would try to misuse their office to try and quiet me and try to remove my rights. I mean, have you seen this? Have you seen this? How thick-necked they are. How thick-necked they are. Must be paying well. Does not exhibit or distribute any posters or written material in Wexford Town. But this one really amazed me. Does not invite or engage others to speak in public anywhere in Wexford Town. What? I'm not allowed to invite people to Wexford Town. I'm sorry for laughing, but that, I mean, who do they think they are? He does not invite or engage others to speak in public anywhere in Wexford Town. He does not engage in public speaking anywhere in Wexford Town. Who do Wexford Town think they are? Above the Irish Constitution? The officials in Wexford Town think they're above Ireland? Does not exhibit or distribute any posters or written material in Wexford Town. I mean, it's just amazing. It's not a joke. It just amazes me. I'm sorry for reacting that way, but it is a beautiful thing when the enemy shows his hand and it's exposed for everybody to see, because he overplays his hand. That's his nature. He's boastful. And it's plain to see he must obey his nature, even if it's not strategically beneficial for him to do so. And that's the nonsense of not trusting in Jesus. That's what happens to you. Corrupted his wisdom for the sake of his splendor. It's not wise for a court of law to try to assert that you cannot invite somebody to the town you live in. I mean, that is just tyrannical. Where are we living? Where are we living? And they're so bold as to do this. They think they can get away with this. That's what it's amazing me. So that's my freedom of speech, freedom of posters, freedom of the expression of artwork. I can't express myself through art or distribute that. Distribute any posters, any written material. I can't distribute my poetry or anything I'd like to write down and express. I can't give somebody a gospel tract, a Bible, a birthday card, maybe. I'm not sure. Material in Wexford Town. Who do they think they are, right? He does not engage in public speaking anywhere in Wexford Town. He does not, this one is amazing. He does not invite or engage others to speak in public anywhere in Wexford Town. Folks, you need Jesus, unless you want to end up like these people. You need Jesus. Amen. Turn to Jesus before it's too late, before you lose all that is worth having.